What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 56. It is I, Sigma, your host. And before I let you know who's joining me for this week's show, real quick, we'll go over what our topics shall be. First up, Futurama. It's coming back. I have a shirt on because it's actually one of my favorite, probably is my actual favorite cartoon of all time. But there's a caveat. We'll get into what that is. Afterwards, Microsoft has confirmed, they put out a little memo saying that going forward, all of their Call of Duty games and other popular titles from Activision Blizzard will remain multi-platform. So kind of a departure from what most people were predicting. But I want to kind of dig into it and talk about like what maybe their game plan could be, kind of letting everybody eat cake in this way. And finally, Nintendo had a Direct, another one that folks were hyping up to the umpteenth degree, and I correctly predicted Nintendo would disappoint most, but not everyone. Marty is is very happy for some reason. And on that note, joining me today is Marty Sleva.
Hey everybody! Oh my, that was right when I took a big old gulp of coffee.
I tend to do that. I don't know why. It's not on purpose. I promise. Also joined by J-Mate.
Oh, sorry, that was just when I took a massive...
You don't even have anything in that mug. You sassafrasser.
Hello, it's me.
Rexicon Jesse, what's up?
I have no drinks near me, and that is a big problem, but also high.
I have no fewer than 3 drinks on my desk right now.
I wish I had at least one of those drinks. Well, I guess it depends on what they are.
Can you fax me
water,
one of those
spicy
drinks?
water, and coffee.
I have like one lingering piece of toast on the table that I desperately want to eat right now.
Can you fax me one of those spicy waters, please?
Yeah, I could. I've got a case of spicy water that I can't reach from here.
It's a little lemon
Honey
lime.
in the chat. What's up? Discordia Nest as well. Waves. Honeyman says I'm lower than the rest of the peeps. How about now? Am I any louder?
Yeah.
DJ, what's up? So, on that note, let's get started with what we've been playing, /watching, /reading, /doing in the limited free time we tend to get. Anybody have any burning video game stories they want to tell?
I need someone to play Dead by Daylight with me because I'm playing that too much on my own.
Did the ring girl come out in that game yet?
No.
The ring girl is coming.
Samara?
Oh, is she?
It?
Oh, that's kind of cool.
The Ring Dead by... I thought that was like one that they... Yeah, the Ringu, Samara from Ringu. Well, I guess it's the Japanese Samara, so whatever her name is.
There's already a floating spirit lady, so I'm curious how they'll make her different.
Well, she doesn't float, right? Doesn't she like crawl strangely?
Maybe she'll like do that like
right.
teleporting thing, and she like does the thing where like they skip a bunch of frames and she moves sporadically.
Actually, she doesn't teleport; she dashes. Or does she teleport? No,
I thought
there
you were
is a
going to say she
teleporting killer.
dabs, and I was like, that's way different. She does not dab in that
A
film.
dash and dab, both very different from a teleport.
She comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
So you
be
get
cool
hit.
if there were TVs around the level and like, she crawled out.
That would be cool as little warp points.
Okay,
Yeah.
but there
go
are
in there.
killers that do stuff like that, like the pig from Saw.
Mm-hmm.
She'll put the bear trap on your head, and there's 4 stations with a little jigsaw doll on it, and you have to find the right one to disarm the trap, or it'll kill you.
Oh, wow, that's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah, Nemesis has like anti or whatever vaccination stuff lying around that you have to find because he'll infect you with the T
Wait,
virus.
does he like tweet at you? Like,
Wait,
wrong
Nemesis was
information?
anti-vax?
I feel like Nemesis might be anti-vax.
Nemesis is what happened if you don't vax, actually.
Lefties.
Oh, Resident Evil's getting too political for me. I'm out.
DJ is offering to play with you, Jesse, but he also adds that he sucks. He's terrible.
I'm not good either, so I'm not going to complain.
It's all about the back rubs.
It is about the back rubs.
Yeah.
Oh, Honey Money said Sadako is the name of
Sadako.
Sadako. Yeah, that makes sense. Probably not Samara. I don't think Samara.
Pronounced Shippuden, I believe.
Shippuden?
She
Talk about Naruto's?
Yeah, funny story. We were all actually playing Mario Party last night. Like we were on this game night as literally this unit. I just asked them all in one big group, like, "Hey, you want to be on the podcast?" And luckily, they all said yes. So here you go, just kind of a repeat of the party from last night. Enjoy.
Ooh.
Probably less shouting today, though.
I don't know. We're gonna be talking about Nintendo
Futurama.
stuff. So
Yeah, Nintendo gets heated. Speaking of Nintendo, one of the games that was dropped right after the direct was, well, I guess two of them were Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings for the NES and SNES online apps for Switch.
Is that
and
Mother and Mother 2
Yes.
elsewhere? Okay. Because
Yeah,
was confused about like what the hell this Earthbound was, if this was
Yeah.
Earthbound.
It was one of your predictions, wasn't it, Mai?
It was, yeah. I was hoping because that's one of like the last few big Super Nintendo games that they haven't put on the service yet, and so now we just kind of have a couple of the big Square RPGs like the Final Fantasy trilogy, and then Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger. So who knows if those will ever come there? But yeah, so they put Earthbound on, which is Earthbound's the game came out in the '90s. That's kind of the big one that everyone talks about. But then the original Earthbound, which was called Mother in Japan, released in the late '80s on the NES. They translated it, but ended up never releasing it in the US because by the time the translation was done, the Super Nintendo was already out, and they were like, no one's going to want to play an NES game at this point. And so they vaulted it, and I ended up playing it like in the early days of ROMs, like 20 years ago, and there was like a fan translation, so that's where I played it. And that fan translation also had a lot of like quality of life changes. Like the game has a notoriously awful encounter rate, like literally like every 5 steps you'll get into a battle, and it takes like a shit ton of battles to level up, and so the game is just like really peak grinding and not in a fun way. And so the ROM hack that I played originally took a lot of that out, so it was like a really smooth experience. And then eventually they released Mother one called Earthbound Beginnings on the Wii U eShop, like whatever that was, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I never played it then, but finally, since it was released here, I was like, okay, I'll replay this game. And it's like, to me, borderline unplayable because of that, because it's not the ROM hack version, it's the
So they
original
left it
version.
exactly the way it was.
Yeah, and there's like save, you can do save states and stuff with any of the virtual console games on Switch, but it's I'm making my way through it. I'm almost finished with it just because like I love Earthbound so much, and it's a really interesting. It's less of like a prequel to Earthbound and more of like a rough draft, which I guess you could say for almost like a lot of NES games. It felt like the original Zelda was like a rough draft, and then Link to the Past was like the real version. Same thing with Metroid, and
yeah, because going back to the first one after you've played the thing that came after, like, kind of doesn't work. Like I never finished the original Zelda.
Oh yeah, and it's like a dry run for what ends up being a masterpiece.
There's a video on that.
Yeah, for Super Metroid, because Did you go back? You went back to the original Metroid, or did you only play? Okay, yeah.
No, I went back to original NES Metroid, and yeah, that freaking rewind feature,
is almost necessary.
Literal game changer. Like it really is.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm going through. And again, if I wasn't like such a like ardent Earthbound fan, I wouldn't be putting up with it. But it is cool to see so many of the threads and even like musical motifs and characters and enemies and stuff as appearing in their sort of original stage. It felt like last year I went back and played Personas 1, 2, and the sequel to 2. There's like 2 Persona 2 games. And I didn't like capital L like them, but I appreciated them because so many of the seeds for the games I ended up loving afterwards are there. So
it was studying.
Yeah, that's what I'm going through now. Exactly. a little bit of school. So that's how I've been spending my time before. I don't want to jump into anything big before we have Horizon in a couple days and then Elden Ring in 2 weeks. So
dang, you're right.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's five days till Horizon.
I gotta beat the.
You gotta finish Horizon quick.
Or I finish the first one whenever I want to and get the second one years later, like when Horizon 3 is on the horizon.
Yeah, you get all the DLCs
years from now.
Get the Game of the Year version.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Was that pun intended? You definitely said when it's on the horizon.
It was.
Okay, good. That was a good one. I liked it. I appreciated it.
I thought that was going to go under the radar. Jesse, did you actually finish stuff that you've been playing and watching? Because you said Dead by Daylight and then...
Yeah, no, that's the majority of it. I mean, I've been playing Gothic on stream.
Oh, right.
Like, yeah, my personal time has mostly been, I should get around to Dead by Daylight in, and then a couple hours later, I'm like, I should probably stop.
I should probably go to bed.
Yeah, because
I've been doing the exact same thing with what I call crack now. Not actual crack.
Crackdown?
A game. called Teamfight Tactics, which is a kind of a battle chess spin-off of League of Legends.
I've heard of that.
I reluctantly play League of Legends with my friends. My friends are really into it, and I play it with them when they're playing. But other than that, I just leave it alone. But they were playing this battle chess addition to League called Teamfight Tactics, and it is probably one of the worst games in terms of teaching you what to do. It is god awful. But once you get it, it is probably one of the most addictive games I've played in the last 5 years. I am obsessed with it. I adore it. It's got this wonderful balance of you play with one hand, right? You just play with your mouse and you move characters around. But all of the systems are constantly engaging. So you have to think about your team comp. You have to think about what characters you're buying, what stats they have, like how to make your team. But it's also the type of game that once they start fighting, you can just walk off and go make some food and come back. And then right back into you can get back to thinking about it. And it's constantly relaxing, but also super engaging. So once I've been working for like all day, it's the perfect game to just come off and just play with a few friends and just relax. I love it. I absolutely adore it. It's really good.
Is it a team thing? Like you and a team play other people, or is it all like kind of 1v1 engagements?
You can do a team version. I think there are 8 players in a match, and you all play against each other. You make like a team comp of League of Legends champions, and then they fight each other. And then whoever's got the better team or the better items comes out on top, and then it's the first person to wins. Or you can play double up, which is where you play with someone, and there's 2 of you. And you do the same thing, but you can help each other and give each other stuff. But one of the best things is it has like a ranked system, as all of these games do. But in that game, if you come in the top 4, it counts as a win. So it's super. Like, you don't just have to come first and like make progression. You can just come in the top 4, and it's completely free. So it's no predatory microtransactions, no pay to win. It's just a really solid game.
So do you have? Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Do you have control over your character's actions when they're in the fight, or no? You just have to do all the prep work.
So there's like a pre-lobby section where you have like an arena, and you place all of your characters down, and you give them items. And so you'll have like tanky people in the front line, and then snipers in the back, or it depends on your team comp. And then after that, their enemies teleport in, and they just fight each other. And then whoever wins. And then you change your strategy based on what the other teams are going, who you think's doing more damage, like stuff like that. It's super engaging. It's really complicated, but it's super addictive. I adore it. I adore it.
More or less complicated than regular League of Legends?
I would probably say less complicated. It's kind of the joke about MOBAs that you won't really know what you're doing until you've got at least 500 to 1,000 hours in it. But in Teamfight Tactics, knowing the characters does help you, because you know who's gonna be good in the front line and stuff like that. But I think after I've had friends who have picked it up and been like, "Oh, I don't want to try it because I don't know anything about League. This looks really complicated," and we've been like, "No, we'll just play together and we'll help each other." And they've got it in a few hours, and then they've started winning games, and then they're hooked, and it's literally crack. Like every night, all of my friends are like, "Let's play Teamfight Tactics."
Doesn't that worry you? Because you said this before. Like you started playing something, and then all of a sudden it's like you can't stop playing it, and you're.
It's just my personality.
Are you seeking help for this condition?
It's all right if I'm getting work done. I'm fine. Like Monster Hunter Rise came out, and I played it non-stop for like a week and a half. Got to Hunter rank 100, and then stopped playing. Good
God.
Yeah, I tend to go really hard in one game and then never touch it again.
Yes, that's
a perfectly healthy way to treat things.
All right.
Does it have the Imagine Dragons like the show Arcane?
No, it doesn't. No.
Oh, that's sad. No buy for me.
But there are bonuses, right? So like if you get Jinx and Vi, if you put them in the team comp together, they get like a sister bonus, and they become really powerful. Cool.
Also, that's literally the only 2 characters you could have named from League of Legends that I would have been like, "Oh, I know who they are."
Why I did it. But yeah, it's great. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
Is that just for PC? That's not like they don't have it for
No,
mobile?
it's on mobile as well, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Oh dang, that's how they
Yeah.
get you for real. They put it on
Yeah.
your
They
phone,
getcha.
and then you can't escape
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really good.
But yeah, as for me, I really haven't been playing a ton because I've been trying to get some projects done. But I'm still working my way through Horizon Zero Dawn. The structure of that game, I think, is starting to kind of present itself in a way that's making me see it as a lot less special than it seemed initially. Because most of that game is really like getting kind of involved in other people's business, like all these different side quests and whatnot. And the main story, they they do this weird thing where you talk to who you're supposed to talk to, and the next place you have to go to follow the story is on the exact opposite side of like the entire map. It's so far, like there's nothing but clouds in the distance because you've never been there before. And so to get there, you have to go through like enemies that are like too strong for you, people kind of waving their hands on the sides and whatnot. And the way I play games, especially now, is I'm trying to kind of get to the point. And unless the side quest is like intricately tied to what I'm supposed to be doing, like I'm not gonna run off and seek it out. And they kind of need you to do that because I found myself to be just severely underpowered, just going from story mission to story mission. And so like it's gonna force me to at some point just stop and like spend a bunch of time just looking for other stuff to do. And that's probably gonna bore me because again, the way they set that story up, like Aloy is not a character who was interested in meeting new people for the sake of helping out and learning about the world around her. Like she had a very specific goal in mind at the start of that game. Oh, excuse me. Had a very specific goal in mind at the start of that game, and everything that she was doing at the beginning was to meet that goal, and then those things get ripped away, and so she's desperately chasing those answers now. Like that's her goal, and I resonate with that because I was also interested in that story. So them kind of telling you like, hey, stop moving so fast to get these answers your character desperately wants and go talk to this man whose sister was murdered. Like, that's not my problem. And she literally says those words to a character. She's like, look, that's your problem. But I still end up having to help him because video games. So I don't know. Like, I'm going to keep streaming it. But I'm wondering if I will actually finish Horizon Zero Dawn. Because like, it's stuff like that kind of just demotivates me. But I don't know.
Side quests in big old open world games like that are interesting because I feel like they have to the games that do it the best are ones that tap into like a handful of different like sort of ways that a side quest can entice me, and whether that's it's like an actual good story that like I want to experience what the side quest is, or I'm doing something actually fun that I like doing like mechanically, or okay, well the rewards are worth it, so that kind of thing. And I'm not sure that in Horizon the they're fun or the stories are really compelling. Like there's good rewards and it's what helps like building Aloy up and gaining skills and crafting abilities, in my opinion, makes the game more fun just because you have more verbs to use. But the physical act of doing the side quest isn't super enjoyable. So it's like a really sort of a tough tightrope to walk for me in open world games of whether I want to do the side quests or whether I just want to say fuck it and keep going.
Yeah, I 100% land on the with you, Casey, of like, I want to do the main, like, I'm here. You've told me a good story. I want to experience it. And every time they go, yeah, but you have to do this first. It's upsetting.
Yeah.
Because I want what you've just sold me. Let me do that. And I think, and I'm not a big Assassin's Creed fan, but I think they did a good job in Odyssey, where it was like, oh, the next story mission is 2 levels above you. That's going to be real hard.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll talk to some folks, sure. But every time we would do that when we were playing, we would learn more about the world. Like there were a lot of interesting characters. You'd find more dynamics. They did a good job making those side quests very quickly become a world building experience. And also the levels you get make such a huge difference. That one bump and that new skill point is really worth it. So both the experience and the reward is good.
Yeah.
Versus we started playing The Witcher 3 and ooh, wow. I'm still playing it and I'm looking forward to continuing it. But wow, those early side missions, I'd love some interesting ones. And we've already hit a wall of the main mission being like, you cannot progress. And
They
we're at
can't.
level like 5.
They can't.
Yeah.
And
Me-
I want to meet some monsters. That's the main thing I like about The Witcher. And I'm still trying to find them. Like, I really want that story.
You will.
Those stories.
There's lots to meet. I think for me, with the whole side quest thing, is there has to be, for the level gating, there has to be narrative justification for it. If
Mhm.
it's a video game thing where you can't go here because you're not on the right level, there's no narrative justification for that. If it's my Assassin's Creed character isn't strong enough because they've got a certain type of armor and they don't know how to get past it or something, then there's narrative justification to go do side quests to further that goal, rather than this kind of horrible abstracted leveling system. I just think level based stuff in RPGs is shit. I think we constantly run into these problems where there are no narrative justifications. They're just there because that's what video games do.
Yeah, because it's
And
what
I
a
think-
video game is supposed to do, right?
I think that is a horrible stance to have as a designer. Like, just because a game did it before, we must do it. That's what players expect. There are ways around it. It's just, yeah, it does suck. But as long as there's narrative justifications, I think it's fine.
Yeah, and that was the main thing that I think was missing. Like if Aloy said like maybe even like one line of dialogue of like, or like the person who raised her like told her something like some Uncle Ben type proverb where it's like, look, if a person's in need, you have to act, or some bull like that. I'd be able to internalize that as the reason why she would do whatever these people are asking her to do. Because otherwise it's like, no, she has her own motivations and this runs counter to that. And like it makes me as a person who's controlling her feel like I'm doing something outside of the narrative rather than kind of immersing myself in it with that character. And like I know it's
Mine's
like kind of a
gonna
nitpicky thing, but like it really does kind of grate on me over time.
Yeah, it is. It's funny when a game presents you the main quest with like a sense of urgency, and you have the ability to just be like, I'm just gonna keep wandering around. It's totally fine. There's no punishment for it. And like Lampy brought that up in Breath of the Wild. Like almost everything you do is a side quest, and it's also like, well, the princess is trapped in this scary looking Maelstrom castle, but also you can go like catch horses if you want. Like take your time, whatever.
But on the
and
other
I got
hand,
the same thing.
It was 100 years. She was already in there for 100 years. She could wait like a couple
Link,
more.
Let Link enjoy himself. He hasn't been around for a century. And yeah, I was getting the same thing from Dying Light 2 recently, where it's like you'll get an urgent call from a like an NPC ally who's like, you got to come back to base quick. They're storming the doors, and then you can go do side quests for like 4 hours, and they'll still be storming the doors. It's fine. Like they'll wait for you.
It's everyone's favorite buzzword. Is ludonarrative dissonance.
That's your favorite buzzword.
Well, I've said it twice, but it's true. The narrative and the gameplay don't line up, and they were made by different teams, and that's the problem. They were designed separately, and they've been laid on top of one of each other. The difference between bottom up and top down design philosophy. So this is a top down philosophy. They wrote the story first, and then they added the gameplay underneath, and that's where you run into problems like this. And this is where you get these shit side quests.
I mean, because people do test the games after. Like, do you feel like it's too late, or is it more that most people don't see this as a problem? Because people love Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah,
right. Like I don't, and I'm not saying like it's a terrible game because of this, but just the way I play games, like it would have been a lot more impactful and a better experience if that sort of thing was looked at. But like, is it like, am I being nitpicky? Like, I feel like I might be being too critical sometimes in these instances, but
no, I don't think you are. I think it just comes down to the type of player. Some people don't, like you said, don't view side quests or these side quests that are going to break immersion in this kind of way as a problem. They just see it as more game to play. Right. And that's completely valid. Like they're completely within their right to feel that way, and they're not wrong. But it is an issue for a lot of players, and I think a lot of it comes down to how games are tested and how they're developed. If it's done in this top-down setting where the narrative is written by a team, and then the gameplay programmers are made to create mechanics and verbs, as Marty said, to explore that, they're going to run into issues where the narrative team want to do certain side quests, and the gameplay team just kind of have to do it. And it's kind of up to the the director of the game to kind of reel that in and be like, right, what do we sacrifice? Do we allow for an open world? This is why I'm not that into open world games, because this is where we see 99% of these problems is specifically open world games. They want to give you the freedom to go everywhere, and they want to populate every corner with something meaningful. And if you don't have the correct motivation systems for those quests, you're kind of just fucked. And testing is done in such a disjointed way. Games are very rarely tested in one massive go.
Right, yeah.
And when they are, it's when they're done. Like, you're nearly ready to go gold. So if they're like...
You can't make too many changes.
You're like, oh, the entire narrative structure of these side quests is absolute wank. And people are like, they all say that. Then the narrative team just go, ship it.
Yeah. Just as long as it's not broke, like, literally, like, if it's playable, it's fine. Yeah.
So
you hate it, but does it work?
It starts at the core, starts at the beginning, and it starts with how these teams aren't communicating. And it's a huge problem in the industry, is the different parts of the team, and a lot of studios just don't communicate with each other. They do everything.
When you have a team that big, I think it's almost
of course
impossible. Like, there's very few examples of games of the breadth and scope of Horizon that doesn't suffer from the problems we're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see. It's been 5 years since the original one, so I'm curious to see what that team does with a second go around with the sequel. And we should have reviews probably 24 hours from now. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that some of these things are fixed. Some of, able to make things more interesting, more natural, more compelling for the player in all of those reasons I was mentioning earlier. But we'll see.
All right. So I think that maybe wraps it up for what we've been playing, etc. We'll move on to our first topic, Futurama, the Matt Groening, what do you call it, sophomore show? Like, he's the creator of The Simpsons, then went on to make Futurama. Futurama got canceled twice, I think, right? Like, it got canceled from Fox. Fans' outcry brought it back to Comedy Central after it got like 4 movies or whatnot. Then it got canceled again. But both times it got canceled, Futurama, they managed to end the show in such a way where there was finality, but also they could bring it back if they got the opportunity. So that's how kind of smart these guys are in terms of like their story writing. Like, that show was amazing if you haven't seen it. But now Hulu is ordering another 20 episodes or something, they said. So yay, hooray, Futurama's coming back, right? You would think, except apparently they don't seem to have Bender's voice actor John DiMaggio on board. Apparently negotiations have not been able to go through, and I don't know why you would announce a thing like this without that being done. Maybe they were trying to test the waters, but I feel like it must have backfired, because pretty much everyone on Twitter who was happy about this announcement immediately recanted and are now planning to boycott the show if John DiMaggio was not involved. And I just wanted to gauge you guys' opinion on the show Futurama, and as well as this situation where, like, okay, you have a popular show, it's coming back, people trying to kind of change some of the magic of the past, I guess, to kind of fit it into the future. What's your take on this whole situation?
I'm a big fan of the original. I think the original show is great. I agree with you, Casey. Like, it doesn't need to come back, but
I was kind of okay with the ending.
Yeah, but obviously it's like such a big world that I could easily see it coming back, and with the right team, especially with the original creators, I could see it being pretty good. It is interesting though, the whole John DiMaggio not coming back thing, because he voices Bender, who's probably the most, I would say, the most iconic character on the show.
Probably
like,
has
if you think of Futurama, you think of his voice. And so apparently they reached out to the 3 core leads, which would be him, Billy West, who played Fry, and Katie Siegel, who played what was her name? Lana, yeah. Leela. Was so Lana's Archer. Leela. And she voices Lana on Archer too. Jesus.
No, she doesn't. Right?
No,
that's oh my god, that's the
Lana.
girl.
That's what's her name. The one who's like does the Ubisoft.
Yeah, she was doing the Ubisoft conferences. She kept saying Lady Boner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on her name?
I can't remember her name right now.
Someone chat fucking what is happening.
She voiced the Keymaster in The Matrix, I think.
No. You're thinking of the doctor from John.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Aisha Tyler. Thank
Aisha
you.
Tyler. Thank
Yeah.
Yeah, just I
Thank
was
you,
way
Honey
off
Bunny.
on that one. I was way off on that one.
I'm Googling
But
that.
anyways, apparently they reached out to the three leads and offered them a contract, and the two were like, sure, and Johnny Maggio was like, no, I want more money. And so almost the problem was that the three leads didn't get together beforehand, and we're like, all right, well,
Maybe,
let's
yeah.
collectively say we want this and get them to pay us. And like, I understand, I'm imagining John DiMaggio wants more money just because I think of the three, he's probably had the most
Yeah.
pronounced voice acting career. I mean, he's Marcus Phoenix, he's on Adventure Time.
Yeah, like since then
pops up
he
in show.
has continued to kind of play iconic characters.
Yeah,
And
and he
so-
does a lot of does a lot of like voice acting directing as well, where like you'll see him in the credits of things, and his voice isn't in the game, but he helps direct the voice actors, which is kind of a big thing that big pronounced voice actors do. So I understand him wanting more money because I don't know, like yeah, artists should be able to get more money instead of just the corporations.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like so, I mean,
Go ahead.
no, I'm gonna say like the because clearly they don't own Futurama. Whoever owns Futurama is the one who's trying to get the show back on the air or whatever, right? Like Hulu was paying to have those people put it back on the air. Like, is it okay for them to try and move forward without, like, say, what if no one wanted to do it anymore? Like maybe they're just tired. They're like, look, we're done with this. It's an old part of our career or whatnot. What, like, could they still bring it back? Like, would that mean anything in that case?
Yeah.
The question comes in of what makes the art, right? So there's so many people involved in the production. We've got writers, animators, voice actors, so many different people. How many people who were on the original team making Futurama are not coming back?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because if none of the writing team are coming back and it's a completely different writing team, that will have a much bigger impact than John DiMaggio not coming back.
Absolutely.
And that's what I would be worried about. I'm still in agreement that I think it's important to have the cast return for these characters because that's what the characters are. But I think it's equally as important for the writers to return and the animators to return and all of those other jobs and those people to get paid.
Yeah, it seems like we
so I'd
haven't
be
heard
interested
anything
to
about that at all.
See how much, because that's what I'd be worried about. That stuff.
Yeah, I know they said Matt Groening and David X. Cohen, who are like the two creators and sort of like lead creative minds of the original show, are both coming back with it and show running the show. So I don't know. I imagine it would probably have a different writer's room. I would imagine. Like I can't imagine that they would have the exact same writers.
Oh, people cycle out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of them are probably onto different projects now. But the whole like recasting an iconic character is always like a really tricky thing, and I don't know. I personally think that this will get sorted out. Like I think by the time the show comes out, that John DiMaggio will be voicing Bender, and it'll just be like a big a positive win for them in like a new cycle. Like, oh, listen, all right, the creators won again. Good job, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, you see this happen every once in a while. Like, I'll put $1 in my Kojima jar, but when they recast, they cast Kiefer Sutherland instead of instead of David Hayter as Snake in Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. That was weird. Like, it was weird for this dude who played a character for a half a dozen games over the course of 20 years, and all of a sudden you bring in this guy who Kiefer Sutherland really seemed like he was just phoning it in, and Snake doesn't even talk that much in those games, and so you're kind of like, what the fuck?
Probably
like,
because it was Kiefer Sutherland, right? Like he was probably expensive to get to do that. But that, weirdly enough, I'm glad you brought that situation up because that seemed like it was Kojima's call. Like Kojima was like, "Hey, I want a big Hollywood." To direct in this
he
game.
just wanted
and you could see the trajectory he's going in. Like you look at Death Stranding and you're like, oh, okay, Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen and like Léa Seydoux. Like, okay, I guess you just want to work with like all the famous people you like.
Yeah, and so people were probably like put off that the voice that I know and love is changing, but like when it's the creator, like the person who came up with the idea in the first place, saying like, this is what I want, this is my vision. Like, do you feel like that's less pushback? Like, because not saying that that's what's happening in the Futurama series here, but like if it were, like if Matt Groening and I'm sorry, what's his name? Michael Cohen?
David Cohen.
David
Michael
Cohen.
Cohen was Trump's lawyer.
Clearly not
Michael
Futurama
Cohen
fan.
wrote Futurama. Whoa.
But
Small world.
yeah, like if it's their idea, they're saying like, hey, we really feel like the John DiMaggio's voice doesn't fit the Bender we have in our mind anymore, and we want to go this route. Like, would that make the pill easier to swallow for you guys?
What if it's also Kiefer Sutherland?
Like he's just
What if
taking
it's
everyone's
Kojima?
jobs. It's
Yeah.
been a plan all along.
Yeah.
I feel like it would only if kind of like the side thing. If it had a narrative justification, then yeah. If Bender changed and needed a new voice actor and had a different voice, that would make sense. But if it was just Bender again, but with a completely different voice actor, just doing a DiMaggio impression, like I'm just no. That just
Yeah.
feels wrong to me. Just pay him the money.
Yeah.
And pay everyone else the money they deserve as well.
Yeah.
You've got the money,
That's,
Hulu.
that is
Just
the
do it.
solution. Pay them the money.
Yeah.
Honey Money says, "Don't be ridiculous, Marty. It's gonna be Chris Pratt."
I probably. Honestly, if we're being honest, probably.
New Kojima Metal Gear game where Chris Pratt plays Snake.
That,
I would say
maybe
Joe
maybe this
DiMaggio.
is what it. Joe DiMaggio, the
It's
baseball
like John
player?
DiMaggio. Or
Okay,
Joe
Joe DiMaggio and Michael Cohen into a room.
Yeah. Sort it out.
Yeah, get them a room at the Four Seasons Lawn and Garden. They'll crank this show out. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious now. I'm assuming you guys are all fans. No one has said that they don't watch the show.
Eh,
Okay, well,
I've seen it.
uh-huh.
Like, I've seen Futurama, and every time I've watched it for some reason, like it was on at a friend's house or someone's like, "Hey, let's watch this." I laughed. I enjoyed it. I never liked it enough to like ever seek it out, though. I have never brought up Netflix and been like, "Oh, Futurama, let me select that," like I have with other shows. Like, and I don't know why. It does seem like a show that I should enjoy.
I think you would,
And-
honestly. Like, it may not have just been on your radar for whatever reason, but if you do
But-
sit down and actually watch it, I think you might get pulled in.
But I have seen it, and like the episodes I've seen, I've enjoyed, but never enough to want more. It's like
you like
that was
The Simpsons?
what
I think we both asked, "Do you like The Simpsons?" or "What
I've
about
never
The
seen The
Simpsons?"
Simpsons.
Yeah.
At all.
Jesus.
I thought you were going to say, "I don't know what The Simpsons are."
What is The Simpsons?
What the fuck is a simp sound?
You talk about OJ, the man who may have murdered his wife.
Is that a reality show? Is that what is this?
Well, I think we might have solved it there. I don't know.
Yeah, like
for me,
maybe that's-
Futurama
yeah,
felt
maybe
like a
that's the root.
very like Futurama came around when The Simpsons started to get not good, and it felt like a nice like off ramp to be like, oh, okay, the show I love is starting to not get good, but there's this new show that is of a much higher quality than the show I love's current state. So for me, it just felt like a logical off ramp.
But on that note, have you guys been watching Disenchanted or Disenchantment?
I saw
One
the first
season.
season.
And like people have been very lukewarm on that, I think, right?
Yeah, like it was funny. I enjoyed it, and then again, I just didn't like it enough. I liked it enough to finish the first season, but then the second season came, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad someone's probably enjoying this, but I've got
that's the thing.
plenty
Like,
more to
yeah,
watch.
I started off Disenchantment feeling very down on it, and then it kind of grew on me, and I was like, oh, this is actually really good. Like by the end of it, but it's very slowly lost that luster, and like I can't even remember if I did finish the third season because that's out now.
That's
that
a
came
good
out like
sign.
several months ago, maybe close to a year ago now, and like it really just kind of is bad now, and like that's from the same people that made The Simpsons, that made Futurama. So if they're going back to Futurama, I don't know if that feels like, okay, well, we failed at this thing. Let's go back to the thing that worked. But like, will they be able to actually pull that off? Like their last thing being kind of a miss does give me some apprehension about them going back to Futurama.
I guess they've got to spend so much time in Disenchanted to introduce new characters in the world and do all of that. I watched the first season, and then I don't even know how many more there are, but I saw the second season had come out, and I went, okay, and then went back to doing what I was doing. And but I can't pinpoint why, the specific reasons why I don't care. because the first season wasn't terrible. It was just there. It was just a thing. So when I saw more of it, I was just like, that's not gonna. Okay, whatever. And I think maybe a Futurama, it has those established characters, the stories, and that they can bounce off. Like you said, they left it in a way where they can expand it more and come back to it. So maybe they'll have the freedom to just off the bat in those 20 episodes that Hulu or whatever ordered, they could just go absolutely nuts and make crazy episodes. I think that's what Disenchanted was missing. It was just very subdued. And
which is funny because it's set in a fantasy world. You would think that they'd be able to like kind of go buck wild with it.
But that's I feel a lot of the same way as you do, Jimate, about it, and kind of what you were saying, Marty, where it's like it could be more. Where I feel like Disenchanted, and Futurama does this too, and I think that might be why I don't like it as much. But Disenchanted does it more, where it's dealing with tropes and settings and stuff that I am already incredibly familiar with. So it feels like I'm revisiting something in a less interesting way. Like, I get the joke about a beholder. I've played RPGs, and like that's it. Like it's just this is fun, and I feel like Disenchanted does that more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, does the show work more for people who have like more of a tertiary interest in fantasy as opposed to people who are like really ingrained into it? Because I feel like that's like a tough line to walk. Like, you can vary if you set something in a world I'm super familiar with, or a angle I'm super familiar with, then you kind of have to put in the legwork to impress me.
Yeah, like you gotta be an insider in terms of the knowledge and references and whatever, right?
Yeah, like
Futurama got right. Like they had all sorts of like weird math jokes hidden all over it.
Yeah, you could tell like they actually really gave a shit about like classic sci-fi, which was what they and sort of like, those nerdy things, which they were kind of spoofing and goofing with. And that was my worry, like going into Mythic Quest, which is about game development, that I was going to be like, oh, this is going to be the lowest common denominator bullshit. And like the first episode or two kind of is. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And then it very quickly finds its footing. And I'm like, oh, okay, these people not only like games, but understand game development to a point where like this isn't like eye rolling. This is actually really good. And it's one of my favorite shows on TV now. So, I don't know. It's kind of a tangent. So it doesn't have anything to do with Futurama. But...
No, I think it does. I think it ties into kind of like just knowing the subject matter in a way, because I didn't really put that together. I'm personally not a big fantasy guy. Like I played and watched the TV shows, but like it's not my preferred world to live in.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
But I guess it brings to mind like The Big Bang Theory and how that's such a popular show, but anyone who actually cares about the things those characters care about hate that show.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that might be what was going on with Disenchantment, maybe. Like, I'm not the biggest fantasy nerd, so them kind of maybe making bad or unfunny fantasy jokes were going over my head. And I was kind of just laughing at the other stuff that was in there. But that makes sense.
Jamate's a big Young Sheldon fan.
Yeah. I'm not really a Young Sheldon, or instead of fantasy, I prefer, like, Nintendogs. I really like Nintendogs. Love
Could you imagine if that was a show? I'd watch that show.
Oh,
it is a show.
Nintendogs?
Yeah, in my heart.
I need a VPN?
I watch Young Sheldon and I hold up my DS to it, and I'm like, oh wow, my Labrador's talking to me.
Yeah,
and then I cry.
For real though, how come they don't bring back Nintendogs?
Oh, they'll bring it back, Marty.
Cowards.
It's coming.
Cowards.
It'll be in the next direct.
They've got too much money. They just know they'll make bank.
They still won't mention Breath of the Wild 2.
It'll be entirely focused on Nintendogs.
Yeah. I would kind of love that.
The Nintendogs wrecked?
Oh my God.
I can't make that work.
DJ in the chat asked, did anyone watch The Legend of Vox Machina?
I have not started it. I
That's the Critical Role cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never watched Critical Role either.
Yeah, me either. I had a friend who kept bringing it up after I told him about the Adventure is Nigh show that we were doing. He was like, oh, that sounds like this other thing that I've watched for years and greatly enjoy. I was like, oh, okay. I've never heard of it. Yeah. And then that cartoon comes out, so I'll watch that eventually.
I don't I've only seen a little bit of Critical Role, and I didn't like it, so I have no desire to watch the cartoon.
I've seen quite a bit of it.
The cartoon or Critical
The
Role?
people I know
The
who've
cartoon,
like gotten
Critical
into
Role.
it are like
Yeah.
capital I into it. Like it is their like favorite shit ever. And I
Right.
could see that. I mean, those are like some of the most talented and entertaining voice actors around. And you
John
can tell like
DiMaggio
they're
in
all. No, he asked for too much money
Yeah.
Yeah, they only make 9 million on Twitch alone.
on their,
so they
on
don't
their
have John
yeah,
DiMaggio money.
Kickstarter.
But they
yeah.
do have the keymaker from The Matrix. He's one of
Hey,
them.
Yeah.
he does
Oh,
come
you
in
mean the
season
doctor.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, speaking of crossing platforms, Microsoft has stated that Call of Duty, probably Overwatch, all the stuff from this Activision Blizzard acquisition that's popular and already on multiple platforms, they intend to honor those agreements past the dates that they actually expire. So you're probably gonna get more Call of Duty, more Overwatch, more what the hell else does Blizzard make?
Diablo, Warcraft,
yeah,
Starcraft.
Bad decisions, I think.
Yeah, that too. You'll get all of that on all your platforms going forward, and that's on the surface. I'll start with my thoughts on this situation. On the surface, that seems like Microsoft is really trying to appeal to like everyone. Like they just want people on Game Pass. They just want people familiar with the brand. They don't care if you're playing on their console or not. But if you pay a little bit more attention to like just the tech world, all this antitrust talk that has been floating around actually stopped a merger of Intel and ARM. Like the 1, 2, 3 Intel, AMD, and ARM chip manufacturers, like they're the 3 biggest in the world. They pretty much have all the chips and all the things. Intel was going to buy ARM. The number 1 was going to buy the number 3. And that was going to drastically mess with competition. And so they actually stopped that deal. They said, you can't do that.
Monopoly.
Say again?
Monopoly. They're
Yeah,
trying to
exactly. Right?
get everything.
And in the wake of that, Microsoft went like, we got to let them know that we're not also going down this path so that their merger can actually go through. So I feel like this might be what that's about. And once it does go through, we may actually still see a change in their actual tactics. Because like, is there anything like written, like you write like a memo on the internet? That's not a legally binding document. Like they can still kind of do whatever they want. Right?
Yeah, they totally could. Yeah, the tweet is like, here's what we want to do, or here's because if I'm remembering the language correctly, in that they are saying like our projections, or we think right now it is the best for the ecosystem of gaming or whatever. There's no binding contract. Like they're saying their current plans, which can change at any time when they want to. Mm-hmm. I also think makes sense to just diversify their bonds. Is that the saying?
Probably not.
You got it.
That's what Wu-Tang taught me.
Yeah, that's a diversify your bonds. Thanks, Marty. That's what I was going for. Where, okay, if they put all of their money in, you got to get Xbox and you got to get Game Pass, and one of those fails, or both of them fail, they're not making any money. So many freaking publishing and development companies have failed because of that. If they're like, look, we can make money in lots of places. Okay, it might not be as much if it were successful, but it could fail, and then we'd be out a whole bunch of money. So let's just, take a cut from Sony and Nintendo too.
Mm-hmm. The way I see it is at the surface level they're telling the truth, but deep down, like that whole post is a lie. I think they're absolutely going to be honoring current contracts, which we've seen them already doing with Bethesda. Like we had Deathloop, and we're going to have Ghostwire Tokyo as PS5 exclusives for a year, even though they're now ostensibly first-party Microsoft games. But that wasn't the case with Starfield. And when Starfield comes out this fall, in theory, it's going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive. And so whatever contracts they have for Call of Duty through 2024 or whatever, or Diablo 4 or any of these games coming to PlayStation are still going to be honored. I absolutely think whatever the large-scale multiplayer, probably free-to-play version of Call of Duty is going to be, whether it's Warzone, I think will always be on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think absolutely by 2024, 2025, A Call of Duty campaign is not going to be on PlayStation. Like, there's no reason for them to put it on PlayStation. Like, it would be once this deal is done, it would be like absurd of them to put that on PlayStation for a big multiplayer game like Overwatch or like Call of Duty's multiplayer. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Like, you want as many players playing this. You want this to be, especially when things like Fortnite are still around. Like, you can't have Fortnite on every device imaginable, and then to have your biggest competitor to Fortnite be only on Xbox and PC. Like, that's just not going to work. But when it comes to if Sledgehammer makes a single player campaign of Call of Duty, or if they let Infinity Ward make a game that's not Call of Duty, which everyone's hoping that they allow these developers who've been shackled to Call of Duty for the last decade to just make something else, those something else's are not going to be on PlayStation. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think I completely agree with you guys. I think it just all comes down to, it's very obvious, money. So they're going to honor this, but they're only doing it specifically, in my opinion, because the games that they're allowing to continue to be cross-platform are the ones that make an absolute boatload of money in microtransactions.
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch and Warzone make billions in microtransactions. They make more than the sales of the games. So they're going to spread out that as far as they can. But like Marty said, the single players are going to come over. I think give it a couple years, and once their exclusives for Microsoft start coming out, they're going to buy up Ubisoft, and they're gonna go for another throat, and they're gonna become it's gonna be Sony and Microsoft, and that's gonna be the two. And I reckon eventually EA is gonna go down as well, because their sales are going down because they're just pumping out shit. Like, EA aren't producing good quality games because they're trying to. It's basically a AAA shovelware, and their stocks are going to start going down, especially when Microsoft's titles start coming out. And then Microsoft are just going to have enough money to buy them out. They've proven they've done it with Activision, the biggest publisher in the world. They'll do it again. And it's just going to take a couple years. And this is a kind of look, we're not trying to get a monopoly on games. We're not doing that, but really they are.
They are.
Yeah. So it's just a thin veil of smoke that luckily makes them money as well. So it's great.
They could also, if they wanted to, have the illusion of, and this might be just their process, or maybe before they eventually go exclusive, to deal with pricing. If they have a $60 game or a $70 game on PlayStation, but it's constantly going on sale for $30 on Xbox,
or as a part of Game Pass.
Oh yeah, technically, sure, you can buy it wherever, but you're going to be saving so much money on all these games if you just buy an Xbox.
It's still blowing my mind that not only is MLB The Show a first-party PlayStation game on Xbox again this year, but it's on Game Pass again. Mm-hmm. Which I'm just like, how did this deal go down? Like, how much money did they offer PlayStation? Like, it is so weird to me.
Wait, isn't that also coming to Switch?
And it's also coming to Switch for the first time this year. Yeah. Like, I understand them putting it on there, especially since, like, they have the sole rights to MLB. But the Game Pass thing is just mind-boggling to me. Like, I do not understand that whatsoever.
That seems like just a little shank in the shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Little shank in the shower.
But I want to just call attention to what Lampy's put in the chat here. It says the main issue the committee's had with ARM and Intel, though, is that ARM is basically the only player in mobile processor market, and there's only 3 companies and processors as it is. Games are quite different with so many more players in the market, so I wouldn't conflate the two too much. Mm-hmm. That is true. Games are very different than that market because there are so many players. But I do think people are worried about the scale because, like, you have all these indies and stuff, and they do exist in the market. But then almost all the, like, AA style developers are under the umbrella of, like, the AAA publishers, right? And there are only a few of them who are really at that level. And that number keeps shrinking because Microsoft and Sony keep buying them. Mm-hmm. So on the surface, it looks like a web of all this diversity, but like when you kind of zoom out, it's almost like those big American companies like General Electric and Viacom,
and you see how much they
yeah,
own.
it's like,
and like
okay,
yeah.
there's actually only like 3 or 4 companies that own everything, right?
Yeah, when I go to the grocery store, I'm buying from like 3 parent companies, and that's pretty much it. And I don't even realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
We're moving in that direction for games.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
nearly there.
Yeah, and especially if you like factor in like someone like Tencent, who has a major stake in a ton of the other companies as well. But I am a little less worried about it because there's also, while there's obviously consolidation going on with all these larger companies buying up smaller companies, there's also just an inherent expansion in the industry as well, and there's like a ton of new AAA studios that have opened up with talent from who worked on some of the biggest AAA games in the last decade, that are independent and that are working on the games that 3, 4, 5 years from now are going to be spoken in the same sentences as Halo and Call of Duty and God of War and everything. And so I think it's just that we haven't seen the fruits of those labors yet. But like last year, we put together a video of like 13 big studios to keep an eye on, and none of those games have come out yet, but they're all in development. And then like Shinobi on Twitter, Shinobi's a game developer now who used to be a contributor for The Escapists, but just sort of like an industry insider, good Twitter follow to have, put together this massive list. And like, not only did it have like all those studios we put together in our video, but it was like 15 more studios that have come out, that have started up in the last year or two. And so it's like, I'm less worried about this dystopian future where everything is under these 2 or 3 umbrellas because of all these like incredibly potentially amazing studios with really cool projects in the works that might be the games we're all talking about a few years from now. And again, I don't know, maybe
Yeah, that has
by
happened
then
on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe
you got
by
your
then, like
Among Us's and your
Among Usies.
You need to look at Epic, for example. How long until we're at the point where the places where we're selling games, Epic made a shit ton of money off of Fortnite and have been taking that money and put it into their launcher and have been using that money to then buy up developers and have them be exclusive on that launcher to drive traffic there.
How much to people's anger.
Yeah. How long until Microsoft make so much money and Epic make more money on their next big hit and Steam bring out, their new VR puzzle game and they make a load of money, where it just becomes a war between these companies to pay for exclusivity rights? And then we're still in this dystopian future where all of these games are being independently made, but they're not being independently published.
Yeah.
That's go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's completely fine.
I was like literally about to say the same thing, where you have this list of 13 to what's 2 times 13? 26?
26.
Of developers making games that you're really excited about, but if 3 of those games come out and they need publishers, and you've got your Microsoft and its subsidiaries and your Epic and its subsidiaries and your Ubisoft and its subsidiaries and its EA and its subsidiaries, then you have 22 games left on that list. And it's like, ooh, well, we already invested big on this one, so we don't really want to compete with the other 3. We might gobble up our own market in this. So yeah, we're not going to publish it now because of exactly what J-Mate's saying. All those publishers are mushed together that they're not going to take risks, and cool stuff dies with no marketing or bad marketing. So they could be making great stuff and it could even come out and they will not make their money back. They will not get a second game. They'll have to shutter, worst case scenario, because there was such a consolidation of publishers that they won't take the risk on something like that, despite it being cool.
And it's not to say that these games aren't being made. These incredibly amazing AAA, AA games where industry professionals that have done this for decades are coming off to make really cool, interesting indie games. They're going to get made and they're going to get published, but they're incredibly rare. We're seeing quite a lot of them now. I think it's because of the time COVID has happened and a lot of people are backing away from what they've been doing. They're incredibly rare though, but I hope that we do just get this. They're published in a way that doesn't really feed the machines and it feeds them. and they can further their development rather than just giving more money to Microsoft or Epic or something like that. But you've also got to look at it the other side of the coin. Sometimes these developers need the money from Epic to get these games made, and a lot of people don't get that. They're like, God, I hate Epic. How dare they put this game on Epic? It's like 500 people would be out of a job if Epic didn't come in and give them this money.
Yeah, people were mad that Sifu was an Epic exclusive for PC, but it's like maybe that helped them get to the finish line of development.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, maybe it would have only
give it a level of polish.
PlayStation without Epic.
Yeah. Or the game wouldn't have been as good without that money. Yeah. I'm also, though, as we're talking about, there's more and more developers. There's also more and more publishers that are popping up. You know, there's smaller scale ones like Annapurna and Private Division and Kepler Interactive and Devolver and Kowloon Knights. So as we're getting more of these, it's like I don't think Microsoft, Sony, and Tencent can hoover up studios as quickly as new ones and new publishers are sprouting up.
Okay.
Because I think just the growth of the industry is so massive and sort of like a snowball rolling downhill that's just gaining momentum and getting bigger and bigger that I'm personally not super worried about it. I mean, come back to me in 5 years and maybe I'll be like, I was wrong. I'll be smoking a cigarette and like just sweating and I'll be like, I was wrong.
As much as we just had this discussion, I hope you're right.
Yeah,
I can see the side of where you're coming from, and I could see it happening. I don't personally think it will, just because capitalism is a bitch. But I hope it does, because that's the future I want to live in, with really interesting indies, with the people who deserve the money getting the money for the work they've put in. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Nice note to end on. And also, speaking of the future, Futurama, no.
What? I was like, well, did we not do that?
No. Nintendo basically let us know what's coming up in their future in their latest Nintendo Direct. For some reason, there was like a lot of hype around this particular Direct. Folks were expecting some news from some of probably their bigger titles, you know, like Breath of the Wild 2, maybe a new Fire Emblem supposedly being in the works or on the horizon. Marty even did a whole video about Mario Kart 9 being on the horizon, right? Instead, we got a lot of, I won't say disappointing news, because not everyone was disappointed, but we got a lot of news that just wasn't on the radar, right? For example, no new there is a new Fire Emblem, but it's another Muso. It's a Three Houses version of Fire Emblem Warriors, right?
Yeah.
No news on Breath of the Wild, nothing on Metroid. But I mean, there's a lot of JRPGs coming, stuff that never made it to the West before. Live Alive, that looks pretty cool, right? I don't know. I was not really feeling this Direct whatsoever. Like, probably the biggest thing they showed off was Kirby, and that Kirby game has not really interested me from its initial trailer. Like, even this new one with mouthful mode, which I do think
I was going to say, are you not interested in mouthful mode?
Mouthful mode
when
is
he
hilarious.
into a car, I vomited. I was sick. It was disturbing.
It really is. It really is. I love that as a concept because it's so weird and stupid, but I don't care enough about it to be like, now I'm going to buy this game. You know what I mean? But I don't know, Marty, you were like really excited. Like, so what were some of the things that like really stuck with you during this Direct? Because almost nothing stuck for me.
Literally almost everything stuck with me. And I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I just have a head injury. So personally, the Fire Emblem wasn't a core Fire Emblem game, but this isn't a game from Intelligent Systems. This is a game from Tecmo Koei. So it's a Muso game based on Three Houses. And I've historically not given a shit about Dynasty Warriors or any of those games, except for Age of Calamity, the Breath of the Wild one, and Persona 5 Strikers. And I like Three Houses as much as I like those games. And so, yeah, playing like a spinoff of that in Muso form, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I'll revisit those characters. And then Nintendo was smart to, they have like, it feels like the first half of the year is packed with a bunch of like mid-tier Nintendo games. Whether it's Kirby and his mouthful mode, or Advance Wars, or even them announcing the soccer sequel, which folks love that GameCube one, the Strikers, Mario Strikers. Yeah. It feels like it's almost like a calm before the storm, knowing that we have, like you mentioned, Metroid, a real Fire Emblem game in development, Breath of the Wild 2, whatever the Mario team's been working on since Odyssey almost 5 years ago
Yeah,
now.
aren't they supposedly working on Donkey Kong?
Nearly 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was the end of 2017. So
Wow.
it'll
Yo,
be
the
5 years
Switch is
this fall.
old. Like
Switch,
Yeah.
Switch is about to turn 5 years old. It'll turn 5 in like 2 weeks.
like they should have announced a new console at this direct. Like, what?
They also said we are halfway through our life cycle, and I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Like the internal batteries in the Switches will start dying before.
Exactly, but we'll all buy the ones that have slightly nicer screens or are slightly bigger, or whatever. No, and I think we're seeing these announcements because the Switch is selling. Like I think at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say it's going to be the best selling console of all time. Like I think I could say that now, like pretty safely, and not worry about that.
You think it's gonna beat the Wasn't the PS2 currently?
PS2.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
still up there.
Yeah, but if they literally are serious about this being halfway through the life, which I can't imagine, like this won't be a 10-year console. Those don't exist. But if we keep getting these games, instead of making a sequel to Mario Kart, they're putting 48 new tracks out, which is literally doubling the tracks from Mario Kart, and then sort of bundling that in with their expansion pack thing, which I think is now interesting that's what the expansion pack online service is. It's literally an expansion pack. It is going to be where you get all of the supplementary content of games, not the games themselves. Like you saw that with Animal Crossing. Now we're getting that with this. And then
it's
bringing
kind
back
of
like
a
Wii
neat-
Sports, which is a above game.
A neat shift for a subscription service. Like, get all your extras thrown in rather than get all your games, because Nintendo's never going to give you their games for free.
No,
They
God,
should wait
no.
ever.
Yeah, and then they also the highlighting a bunch of old ass games and JRPGs that were like very much targeted to me, like whether it was the Earthbound games we talked about earlier, or Live a Live, like you said, or Chrono Cross remaster, the Klonoa games, Front Mission 1 and 2. Yeah, just a bunch of shit that is like genetically engineered in a lab to get me excited.
It was made for you. While I was watching it, I was like, Marty must be off his chain right now.
And
you could
everyone
actually
else
probably hear him if you open the window.
Yeah, you could hear like a yelp coming from southern Wisconsin. Yeah,
the mountain.
Yeah, I don't know. How did you guys feel about it? I know Casey wasn't hot on it.
Yeah, very lukewarm. So, what were you guys' reactions?
I apparently live under a rock over here where I am, because I didn't know what happened. I didn't even know it was coming. You're talking about people being real hyped for it. I didn't know it happened until I went on YouTube for something else, and one of the top videos was like reaction to Nintendo Direct. I was like, oh, did we have one? I better check that out. They might have mentioned Kirby. And they did, and I'm stoked about Kirby.
Yeah.
I freaking love Kirby. Kirby's great. I'm looking forward to a 3D Kirby. Mouthful mode, delicious. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Bringing back like upgrade and combo powers. Really excited about that, because that was a cool feature in the Crystal Shards. I enjoy it. Everything else was like, man, I bet somebody is really excited about this. Like, it's like Klonoa, and I was like, yeah, I do. I think I remember.
do have a friend who is weirdly obsessed about Klonoa.
Yeah,
Those games are great. Those games are great.
I have a friend who loves Chrono Cross, and I saw that and was like, oh, he's gonna be freaking hyped that they're doing a remaster of that or whatever. And like, but that was pretty much everything. Like, aside from Kurt, well, and the 48 tracks, I am actually kind of stoked about more tracks for Mario Kart. And it totally makes sense why they would do more tracks rather than Mario Kart 9. We are not going to see Mario Kart 9 on the Switch. I have believed that for a while, and I'm going to continue to believe it until it comes out for the Switch to prove me wrong.
It'll be on
that
the
will be
Virtual
the
Boy too.
next. Yeah, they have one Mario Kart per system pretty much, and Deluxe 8 is going to be it. And the DLC is really just cementing it to make sure that they don't eat into their own profits of like, well, why would I get 9 when I already have 8? That's going to be the next system.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. But I'm excited for new tracks, so that could be cool. I love Mario Kart.
So you're planning to? Cause I don't know. Are you subscribed to this expansion pack service?
No.
No.
Awful.
So does this make you feel like
No.
you should? No. Okay. So you're just gonna buy those separately.
$25 for 48 tracks? Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, so that's a good deal
Like-
outside of the thing for you.
It's going to be like 20 extra bucks for me to upgrade to 1 year of the expansion pass. And I'm not even going to get all of those tracks because they're coming out in chunks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay for a year of that and not even own the thing that I want. The one thing that the expansion pass has that I want. And like there's really nothing about it that is appealing to me. You
could play Banjo-Kazooie on Switch.
I don't like Banjo-Kazooie.
So dude,
3D collectathons are like the rung
genre ever.
below survival games in my dislike of genres.
Where's the leave call button? It's the big red one.
I just punch for your screen, burn your computer.
Just take it out with it.
It's a perfectly fine genre. No hate, no shame to anybody who loves it. I get zero enjoyment out of digital capitalism of just constantly collecting for the sake of collecting. It does not trigger a thing in my brain that says this is fun.
Physical capitalism, you're all over that, right?
Just sign me up. I'm like a Kirby with the physical.
If there's a capitalism just floating outside my door, can't sleep.
Yeah, mouthful mode for money.
For me, I was like this the entire time, like, and then they announced Switch Sports, and I fucking started dancing. I am so excited to just have Wii Sports again. I was on a call with a load of mates, and I was like, I'm moving into a new place soon, and they were like, I was like, Switch Sports, and I was like, you're all coming over, and we're playing that because that game's going to be great. It's got some of the best games from all of their sports titles. I think it's going to be really, really good.
They're adding some new ones in that too, right?
Yeah.
And
there's like volleyball.
The volleyball one raised some eyebrows for me.
Well, because you had like two middle-aged Japanese businessmen in suits doing it.
Yeah, to be honest, that demo did not help. Like before they started playing the actual game, I was a lot more excited than after they decided to get physical. But
to get physical.
We didn't get anything major, but I think this is a bit early. I'm not sure any of those major games are going to come out this year. I think
I don't think they will. No,
I think it's going to be next year at the earliest. So to give us more teasers is just a bit too much of a tease. It's like, stop it, Nintendo. So they like to do this thing where they go in the dark. So it's like, oh, here's 18 remasters of things you liked. Don't do you remember when we used to make games?
Yeah,
remember?
And they still have a bunch of those in their back pocket. Like this, I genuinely think this fall their major lineup is going to be Metroid Prime remake, and then the Wii U remasters of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. Like I think those will be their big fall games.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Pokemon DLC for Arceus and some of those tracks for Mario Kart, and there you go.
Yeah. And
theoretically, Bayonetta 3 is supposed to come out in 2022.
That's not a real game.
That's not coming out.
Yeah,
that's not real.
I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed till 2023.
I'm a huge Bayonetta fan, and that's not coming out this year. I want it to. I want it right now, but it's not.
So nobody's hyped for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That's supposed to be coming out in September.
It looks cool. I've never played a Xenoblade.
I could not get into Xenoblade 1 the few times I tried to play it. I just couldn't.
In the trailer, I couldn't get over the voice acting. They were all...
I desperately wanted to hear your take.
Why won't you align with the star, Gabriel? You are a person, and I am an angel. Fuck off.
Yeah, that voice acting did not do any favors for me.
I am British people. It's like they were the voiceover director wasn't British, and they hired British voice actors.
Yeah,
and they're like, that's not British enough. Come on, more British.
Well, they couldn't afford John DiMaggio.
Of course.
If you're gonna do if you're gonna do good bad British, then you gotta pull a full JoJo dub. If that was the voice acting, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah, then I'm on board. But it was just generic. It angers me. I hate it.
Yeah,
and it's not just because I'm British. It's just because it just doesn't sound good. I'm just not into it.
I think it sounds
really
amazing.
I instantly
it's
put up
exactly how I imagine the UK to sound.
Really? No. I probably have the most. We have such a crazy amount of accents in the UK. It's insane. For such a small place, we got loads. But I probably, if you were looking for a representation of what just generic British voice sounds like, it's me. Like it just sounds like this. Just like slightly British.
That's delightful. See, I don't think you sound slightly British. I think you
Do you
sound.
think I sound
amazingly
really British?
I think you sound really British. Yes.
Shit. I guess it's
Well, Yahtzee's been kind of traveled around, so his accent has morphed a little bit. But he sounds a lot more watered down British than you do, I think.
maybe it's an interesting thing for when I've come to America. I don't know why. When I was around, I remember going into Walmart and somebody spoke to me and they were like, "Oh, you're British." And for some reason, my voice went into this over British voice, kind of like those voice actors. I was like, "Yes, I'm from England. Yes, okay." And they were like, "Oh wow, where are you from?" And I don't know why I did it. It was like it just naturally happened.
What's funny is I was on a ZP with Yahtzee once, and I believe he had this exact statement. Like he did the exact same thing. Like when you're in another country and people talk about your accent, it's a thing that gives you like spotlight, and so you kind of overdo it because you like
you
that
heavily
attention.
lean into it.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to turn into a full Midwesterner if I ever go, if I cross the border.
So I do
I'd be
think
like,
that's
oh,
a thing.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you explained it. I thought my brain snapped, and I was like, "Why do I want to sound more British to this person?" It makes
Because
no
they
sense.
like it, and you want them to like it. That's why.
True. Okay.
You're trying to help them like feel good about themselves that they really did nail it, that you're British, and you're just
Correct. Yes.
trying to sell it.
England. It's bullshit.
Honeymoney says it.
Honeymoney says it blows my mind that being British is seen as exotic in the U.S. Well, we did kind of have a war where we kicked them all out, so
Yeah.
for them to come back, it's almost like, oh, you got the gall.
And 99% of Americans die within 35 feet of where they were born. So anything outside of that 35-foot bubble seems exciting.
Do you know what? We're very small. We're a very small island. I guess.
Yeah, but it's very far away.
Yeah, that's super exotic. Really tiny place, quite far away. That's
Yeah.
exotic.
Yep.
No, it depends where you are in America. Like when I was living in San Francisco, like no one is from San Francisco, and so just everyone's from somewhere else, and so it's almost like no one is special, which was kind of nice. Whereas in Wisconsin, like anyone with the slightest non-Wisconsin accent is like, "Oh, where are you from?" Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the DC area too. Is like you meet someone, it's like, oh, I'm from DC, and it's like, no way, really?
What was it like in the 90s? Tell me.
Yeah.
It's really odd to be visiting America and have saying hello to a waitress or like a waiter start a conversation. Like, oh my god, just saying hello. They're like, oh, like that doesn't happen here. In England, everyone stares at their feet when they walk down the street. We're miserable bastards. Like it just doesn't.
It was like a kink thing.
Yeah,
they're all just really feet. I believe it.
For Rosalina, maybe, but
yeah,
not for the bird.
I like this is like a little sequel to last night.
It is. It really is.
It's like a little bonus Easter egg.
Like if you didn't watch last night's game night, you will not understand what that means. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you can go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're kind of wrapping things up here. Anything that you think we missed in terms of Nintendo's Direct, or any other closing thoughts you guys have on what Nintendo had to show?
No, I do think that folks who are like, where are the big guns? Nintendo generally has 3 big, like major directs a year, and then a bunch of like indie directs and hyper specialized single game directs. Those usually fall in February, E3, and September. So I think the June E3 one is going to be where we see Zelda and whatever the Mario team is working on. Whether or not those games come out this year, which I don't think, definitely both of them will come out this year. I think folks who are looking for the big next meaty first-party AAA Switch game have to wait a few more months.
Fair enough. So on that note, we'll call it a day on today's episode of The Sigma Show. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for watching. Really appreciate it. J-Mate, why don't you let folks know where they can find you in the future, should you exist then?
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a threat. I apologize.
Shit. My mind's blanked. Episode of... What's my series called? Someone help?
Anatomy or
that's
Design Delve?
I was going to say Design Delve. We just did a design delve. Check that out. It was on unpacking. I've got a anatomy episode coming out on Tuesday on the narrative design of Dark Souls 2 with Jack Packard. And you can check me out on my Twitch channel, which I'm streaming a couple times next week on twitch.tv/itsjermaine. Come hang out, and that's me.
Nice. How about you, Marty? What do you have coming up?
Yeah, the design delve on unpacking, that was great. I don't know. I'm not doing anything. Why am I not doing anything? Now I'm getting all worried.
Wait, what's coming out today?
I'm not doing anything. Oh yeah, In the Frame is coming out in like an hour. And we talked about Book of Boba Fett. Thanks, Jimmy. We both have to figure out what the others do. And then check out Breakout every Wednesday with Casey, myself, and Nick, where we'll probably talk about Nintendo again. So you'll have to hear this bullshit one more time.
Hell yeah.
How's about you, Jesse? What do you have on the docket?
Over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/RexConJesse, I'll be playing Gothic and continuing that because I'm doing it for Behind Schedule. And I'm currently just started editing the next episode of Behind Schedule. That'll be out when it's done. I got a new game for 3MR. That's going to take a while, though. And the whatever it's called, embargo, that's the word, is a ways off. So that won't be out real soon. God, is there anything else? RPG Help Desk on Wednesday. And I don't know, stuff? We'll go with stuff.
Yeah. You guys are in the early phases of Adventures Night Season 2?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
True.
We did our level up session last week, and we're going to start recording that this coming week.
And I think the Adventures Night Season 1 podcast version is going to be up pretty soon.
Oh, I didn't even know that was going to be.
Look at that.
No, I knew
just
like
listening.
I had no idea when, though, because we don't get emails for those meetings.
We do not.
Or emails. I think that's probably going up soon. That was funded. That was funded, Honey Money. The folks funded it.
Yeah. You
Folk
guys
fund.
paid for that.
Best fund.
So it's coming.
So you better enjoy it.
Lampy reminded me, I do want to fight Jack in Mario Kart.
I think we want to find a night where Jack is free on Saturday and do a Mario Kart game night.
I absolutely want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New tracks.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wonder when that might be a good one. Whenever expense it though.
Yeah.
Wait.
Expensive, bitch.
If it's for game night, you can expense it.
But yeah, for me, you can catch me here on my Twitch, SignalGears9, as well as my Twitter. Later today, I will be on the Open Party Twitch channel doing Super Smash Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After that, or not after that, but later in the week, I should have a new takeaway video essay dropping on how anime deserves better video games. Hopefully you watch that because I spent a lot of hours late into the morning finishing that up.
Didn't get to see his family.
I mean, I got to see them, but they were asleep. I was just awake. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know why, but like the stuff that we've been I just had King of Fighters review drop, so go watch that.
You just had a shit ton of reviews.
Yeah,
you had Ollie Ollie, you had Sifu.
A bunch of stuff just came out in a row. And a game that I put 20 hours in, Lost Ark, is now out, but my review doesn't exist. So
Why?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to this question because I wrote a review, but it just never materialized into like the next phase of that process. So I don't know if that will ever come out, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't have.
What?
This will be our next stretch goal. Release the KC cut.
Yeah.
Release the Wosu cut.
Is it 20-hour version? Lost Ark. I can't wait to watch.
It's 20 hours. I won't get back because that's
no.
I'm
intrigued by this. I'll figure out what's going on. I'm intrigued by this.
But on that note, thanks everybody in the chat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing all week or since the beginning of this month. I'll be trying to do more random personal streams as well. So make sure you just hitting that bell on the Twitch channel. And when I do go live randomly at some point, sometimes it's afternoon, sometimes it's late into the night. You just know, and you can come hang out with me while I play Horizon or Smash or some other video game. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks to my 3 guests this week. Appreciate it. Go have a happy Super Bowl Sunday. One of America's most notorious holidays. And
notorious.
I don't know.
When
This is just word vomit right now.
Yeah, enjoy the winners parade.
Yeah,
the Winners Riot.
That's what we have over here.
We will see
Yeah.
you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.